Oh my gosh, that's a big one.
What's happening, fishing friends? Welcome to another episode. Tonight we're going over my top 6 catches from 2020. Now, all of these are important because every single one, something important happened on the catch. And I want to share all of those with you because I think everybody can learn from this. Whether you've been fishing a long time or you're somebody new starting out, there's something to learn from each one of these, and that's what I want folks to get out of it. So we're going to go over those 6 catches and make sure you stay till the end because the last catch, number 1, is a surprise. You didn't see it at all this year, and it happens to be my absolute favorite catch of the year. You'll find out why. Okay, let's start out. Number 6.
There's one. Oh my gosh, that one hammered it. Oh, that's a hybrid. Dang, that dude smacked it. That's a good hybrid. Yes, I knew there were some of those in here. Oh gosh, no, that's a big largie. Oh my gosh, big old female up here feeding. There it is, 4-1. Tubby girl coming up there. Look at that thing.
Okay, so why was that catch important? Well, number 1, it was my first decent sized fish of the year. Coming in May for me, you know, we're starting to get into warmer waters. Things are starting to come along. It's nicer out. And it came on a spinnerbait, my all-time confidence lure of all time. If I could crank and throw a spinnerbait next to a frog, I would. That's my favorite. I love catching them. You're cranking it, and what was so important about that was that mud line. Now, this is actually something I talked with Gizmo on. I hadn't really noticed it on my lipless video, but he commented and was talking about the mud line. And I noticed that we moved from, real clear water early in the year. You've got some of that with a lot of wind, and that's what you see in this video. A very noticeable mud line. And fish will oftentimes use that as an ambush point, just like they would cover. The fish can't see them in that dirty stuff as well, and they'll literally ambush stuff as it's coming in or right on the edge of it. Now, the other important part about that was what color spinnerbait was I using? That's a question I get all the time. What color bait should I use where? And anytime you've got dirty or pretty stained water, white and chartreuse or white are 2 of my favorites. And as you saw in that video, what was I using? Now, also the deal with that was I had a little kicker blade. That's something that I hear people talk about, and it used to be big, and then it kind of died off, and it came back. And I mean, those little red spinnerbait kicker blades that happen to be a little tiny red Colorado blade, give that a try. I know some guys swear by it, especially in that dirty, muddy water, what it is that triggers those fish, but red in the spring, you know, you hear guys talk about a red lipless. Well, you can do the same thing with a spinnerbait, throw an all white or white and chartreuse with a red kicker blade, and it can make the difference. So give that a try if you're tossing around a regular spinnerbait and not getting bites. You've got dirty water, add a little kicker. Okay, moving on to catch number 5.
Got him. Got him, yes. Oh, couldn't tell if he had it. Didn't want to hit him. Oh, good fish. Good fish up in the shallows. Let's just boat flip you, buddy. Oh, heck yeah. Not used to catching non-Debo dinks is the first fish of the morning. 3 pounds, 4-5 ounces. Early morning frog fishing. Does it get any better than that?
All right, that was just plain fun. Now, what you guys couldn't really see on that video is he was only in, or she, whatever that fish was only in about 1.5 feet of water. And I actually saw that fish come around the side of that log, wake through, and smack that frog. And that is like, oh my gosh. If I could throw frogs all the time and watch the fish actually wake up, you can just barely see the silhouette of it, and then poof, it's too damn fun. So why was that fish important? Well, it was my first fish of the day. It was one of my biggest fish of the day, but it really gave me the signal as to where I should be focusing on that specific lake, because really my pattern for the rest of the day was just that. And if you'll notice where I'm fishing, I've got a number of overhanging trees. And anytime you can throw a frog up under those underhanging or overhanging trees, right underneath those, it's a prime spot. It's a canopy. It's dark. They use that to ambush out from, especially once that sun comes up. It doesn't mean you have to put the frog away. Those are the kind of spots you want to look for. Now, the second thing was I casted that frog as close to the bank as I could. It was hard to tell with my arm in the way, but I threw that as close to the bank as I could. Sometimes even throwing it on the bank, you know, under those and just pulling it off there. What you don't want to do is throw it and make a big, huge commotion in front of it and blow up that spot, right? So accuracy, getting as far back under there where all those other anglers aren't. You know, a lot of guys will flip and pitch or throw something kind of at the front of it, but not a lot of guys are willing to get way back in there. So go deep when you're going under those overhangs or in the docks and such. Try to get where the other people aren't. Gosh, just watching that gets me ready to go frog fishing. All right, let's move on to number 4.
Oh, got him. Oh man, I let that frog sit there. I just changed my battery. Literally just changed my battery. Oh, please tell me I'm recording. Oh, thank gosh. That frog had been just sitting there. I bet that bass was staring at it. That's a good fish. Bet that bass was staring at it. Finally got that new battery in and set the hook on it. Oh my gosh, he is amped up. Not a huge fish, but dang. Best one of the day and on a frog. Oh, hey, that fish is bigger than I thought. Talk about all the way back down in there. All right, and a 3-pounder on the frog to boot. Thank you, sir.
Okay, this fish, I'm still in shock that I even got it because it was such a crazy turn of events. My battery died, and I say it all the time, it's the curse of the dead battery. As soon as a battery goes dead, it seems like 1 out of every 10 casts, I catch a good fish, or any fish. And I changed my battery, and I almost just completely reeled that in and didn't finish it off, you know, because I'm thinking, that's been sitting there, nothing's hit it. But I figure, you know what, it's right in the middle of those reeds, I'm gonna work it and bring it in. And I'm glad I didn't do it off camera, because before I changed my battery, I almost just worked it and reeled it in. And if I would have caught that fish, I would have been so angry I did it off camera. But anyway, the exact spot where I threw it, right on the edge of some reeds, there were some other reeds, and I was able to duplicate that and catch a few more frogfish, doing the exact same thing, letting it soak. So I think before that, it was pretty high sun day, not a lot of clouds, pretty calm water. I think I was going a little bit too fast before that. So I noticed with that one, I let that sit and soak for how long? Enough to change a whole different GoPro battery. So I duplicated that. As I was going along those reeds, I'd throw that frog up in there and let it sit. Let those little waves, you know, disappear. You hear your granddad or a lot of anglers say, if you're throwing a topwater, throw it up in there and let those ripples disappear, right? And that's really to allow that fish to see, get a good clear bead on that lure. Otherwise, there's a bunch of ripples and stuff up there. It can kind of, you know, misdirect their vision. I know a lot of new people will throw a cast in there and like, oh, that wasn't exactly where I wanted it to go, and burn it back in. Try to make another cast. A lot of times all you'll get is that one cast. So if you're trying 2, 3, 4, 5 times at a specific target, don't do that. Throw in there once. If you've got close enough, reel it in and work it. There's still a good chance you're gonna get it, because it might be that only one chance that you get. Okay, let's move on to catch number 3.
Oh, that's a giant. Oh my God, and he's only hooked in the side. Oh man, that is a big fish. Oh, he's taking some drag. Gosh, and he walloped. Oh my God, he's only got the last hook. Oh shoot. He's literally got the last hook and my GoPro's gonna die here. Oh, please don't come off. Oh my gosh, dude, barely hooked. Barely hooked. Son of a gun. Oh, why did I forget the net?
What can I do?
I don't know, I'm just gonna try to play him for a second. Oh.
Nice fish.
Oh.
Nice fish.
Oh.
You got a scale?
Look at that. That's all that was in him right there.
That's a snake, dude.
All right, well there we go, fishing friends. Nice 4-pounder on the morning. That thing is long, big head.
Okay, that was only one fish from the day, but man, if I could relive that day, it was so much fun. I mean, it was constant action. Did I just say Axton? Once we figured out the pattern, we really had to listen to those fish. At the beginning of the day, Randizzle and I were fishing up shallow. It didn't pan out. We caught a couple here and there, but as we were fishing, we kept noticing that fish were schooling out deeper. We'd see stuff popping. And once we listened to that, we just started chasing those schooling bass. And that's what we really replicated throughout the day. A couple times we meandered from that and tried to do some different type of patterns. Didn't work. We had to keep going around chasing, looking for active fish and catching those. And that day was so much fun because I don't know how many fish I caught that day, 20 some, 30 some. I mean, it was a crazy amount on that KVD Sexy Dog, a topwater walking bait. And anytime you've got schooling fish, whether it's largemouth, hybrids, whatever it is, a walking bait is a great way to attack those. There's something about that walking dog action that just really mimics a bait fish running away. And I mean, it cleaned up shop. Now the big thing is to make sure you're varying up your retrieve. Sometimes you can go too fast. I noticed if I was working that fast, they weren't hitting it. They wanted a calm, constant pop, pop, pop. They didn't want me working it quick, so sometimes you just have to mess with your cadence. It's not necessarily the lure, it's just the speed and how you're working it. As you can see, I barely had that fish hooked. Literally one little treble hook holding in there, so make sure you've got your drag set. When that fish turns and wants to swim down and make a run, you've got to make sure you drag set so it can pull some drag out when you're fishing something like small treble hooks or, you know, finesse hooks, something like that. The other thing is, if you don't have it set, you can hear in the video me clicking the reel, and what I was doing was just pushing that button down on my Baitcaster like I was going to make a cast, pushing the button down and just keeping my thumb on the spool and letting that fish take line. And when I'd feel him stop, I'd click it over and reel up that, you know, that dead slack line, try to get the fish up, then it would run and make another one. I'd click that down soon and let it run. Okay, moving on to my favorite catch number 2.
Right down. Nice.
Oh, please stay on. Please stay on. Please stay on. That's a good fish. Please stay on. That's a good fish. Look at the head on that thing. Might have broke my rod there, not sure. 5-pounder on the nose. Little itsy bitsy tiny jig pinned perfectly in the corner. All right, there we go. Well, a surprise little 5-pounder for me on the day.
Okay, that fish was so important to me because that's the biggest fish I've caught in that cold of water. That water was mid-30s. I mean, a week and a half, 2 weeks after that, we had skim ice. Now that really stands out to me because I was using just a little tiny micro jig, right? That little Kitech mono spin jig. For me, for the longest time, cold water for me around rocks was a Ned rig. You know, to me, that was it. That was my favorite thing. And then, of course, Randizzle throws that finesse jig so much. Over the past few years, he's really got me turned on to it. If you're a new angler and want to get into fishing jigs, throw the finesse jig. You can throw it all year long. Randizzle has outfished me a number of times, more than I can count, throwing just a finesse jig on spots where I'm like, man, you should be throwing X, Y, or Z. And he's like, oh, I just caught a fish on a finesse jig, so do what you want. The other thing I learned was make sure you listen to the fish and how they want that jig worked, or any lure for that matter. But that day I was trying, you know, when I first started kind of popping 1, 2, 3, 4, letting it fall, you know, not giving as long of a pause in between. Of course, as the water gets colder, generally you're gonna slow down and work a lure a lot slower. And once I started doing that, I had more success, you know, just little let it sit for, you know, 10, 15, 20 seconds, and then and really on every single fish, I think except for maybe only a couple that I felt, almost every single one, I didn't even feel them pick it up. I mean, it was that soft of a just. Okay, it is time for my number 1 favorite catch from 2020. Y'all haven't even seen this one. This one's a surprise. I saved it for the end of the year. I was gonna put it in a video and I thought, you know what, let's save it. Number 1.
Oh my gosh, that's a big one. That's a big fish. Holy cow, that's a big fish. I mean, absolutely annihilated that thing. Get out of that wood. Oh my God, that's a monster. It feels like a donkey. Oh my God, look at this thing. Oh my God. Oh, I just broke my rod high tipping it. I don't care. Oh my gosh. I just broke my rod on that. Oh my God, and that thing just came out. That thing literally just came out. Look at the mouth. Look at that thing. Oh my gosh. I am so glad I brought my scale. I almost didn't bring my scale. It was in the truck. Finally, a 6-pounder on the year. 6 pounds, 4 ounces. Look at that. Look at the mouth on it. Oh man.
Oh man. Going back and watching that just reminds me why I could literally throw a frog 24/7. To me, it doesn't get any more fun than that. That fish destroyed that frog. Little soft plastic frog. That was actually one I had the pleasure of making with Mr. Nate Marling, Nick Rundle, Nate. All three of you guys, thank you so much for letting me make baits that day. That was a little kicker frog, a marlin kicker frog. Hit Nick Rundle up. I think he's still making those. I know they're doing a lot of swim baits, but as soon as I seen it hit, I'm like, this is a big fish. Ended up breaking my rod. I broke that arc sniper rod trying to get it in. I was high sticking it. I knew it was probably gonna break, but I didn't care. I'm like, this is my biggest fish of the year. I've got to get this dude in. And I did. And it was, I mean, just barely hooked. So what did I learn from that day? Well, I had tried working some regular hollow topwater, you know, just regular frogs, walking a frog and stuff, but we started to get some wind. I noticed there was fish up shallow chasing. They weren't going after slow stuff. I literally could see stuff going, zipping around fast. So I knew they were hungry. I thought hoping something dragging over them would kind of trigger a strike, and boy did it. All the fish were either clear behind it, there was like a mat, and then as it got shallower, it was clear. And then out past that mat, it was clear. And nothing was deep in the heart of it, so it must be pretty thick up, you know, where it's thick inside there. I didn't get really any hits up in that. It was on the edges of that vegetation, either really shallow or really deep. So I missed a few others that day up really shallow. I was pretty upset. That's why I didn't make a video out of it, but some other good ones. But man, landing that one was so much fun. Comment below and let me know what some of your favorite catches of 2020 were. I love hearing from you all. I know I'm behind on some videos, but trust me, I still read them. I'm getting caught up, and I can't thank you all enough for continuing to watch me throughout the year. I'm excited for 2021. And today's subscribed fishing friend is Antonio Tone Basson. Thank you, sir, for watching and supporting, and thank you everybody else who continues to watch and support me. It means so much. 2020 is almost over. I've got some fun things planned. I'm just excited you're all along for the ride. So that's it for me. More stuff to come this week. Thank you all for watching. Have a happy holiday, and till next time.